Welcome, listeners, to tonight's edition of Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Hello.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality, and we broadcast on CIVL on 101.7 FM.
Dr. Leslie, hang on a second. I'm not recording.
Ah.
So say something, please.
Hello. Are you recording? Okay. Just give me a second. Excuse me. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome to tonight's edition of Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Hello, everybody. Nice to have you back on board again tonight.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality, and we broadcast every Tuesday from 7 to 8 Pacific time across the Fraser Valley on 101.7 FM from CIVL, which is located on the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. And the show is a podcast as well as being a terrestrial radio broadcast. And that means that you can catch us on all the major podcasting platforms. You can catch all the back episodes at drlesliephillips.com. We broadcast every Tuesday from 7 to 8 Pacific time. And we're bilocating ourselves. We've got two things going on at the same time. We've got the radio show, and we are also at that time pre-recording the show for the next week. And you can get to be part of the live audience for that if you join the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group or follow me on my Leslie Phillips YouTube channel. So tonight's show is entitled, Why Are You Out of Touch with Your Innate Psychic Superpowers?
I love it.
So you might be saying, yes, why am I? Or you might be saying, well, I'm not. What's going on? And the idea for this show, it came from, I was thinking today, so you have 5 physical senses, don't you? Nobody taught you how to use those 5 physical senses. They're just natural. They're just there. So why does somebody need to teach you how to use your psychic senses? Or why aren't your psychic senses just there? So that's where the idea came from. You know, what's the reason for that? Because you have 5 physical senses in your body, and they help you navigate physical reality. And you have 22 psychic senses that help you navigate non-physical reality. So what's the difference? Why are the physical ones stronger than the psychic ones, maybe? And, you know, why do you need help learning them? So this is what I have to say about this. Because they are innate to you. You have these abilities. They're part of your spiritual communication system, and you are spirit. So you have a body. The body has to navigate physical reality. It needs senses to do so. But you're not that body. You're something else. Your consciousness. You're infinite, eternal, all-seeing, all-knowing, infinite consciousness, a spark of the divine. All-seeing, that's one of your psychic superpowers. All-knowing, that's another one of your psychic superpowers. And so what's going on? What's going on? Why aren't you in touch completely with this all-seeing, all-knowing part of yourself? So let's say it like this. So you have them. You had them before you were born. You will have them after you die. And most babies still have them, have access to them after they're born. But then something happens. So what happens? What happens that we lose this? So you come into physical reality, and most babies can't do very much. They can't speak, they can't think. They're still kind of in spirit. They're still having awareness on a spiritual level. But now we say, okay, well, you've been born. Now you're in the physical world. You have to learn how to be here. And so, and you are here and you have to adapt, right? So you come into physical reality and you get oriented into the physical world, the way things are here. And you shift your focus to be here. You shift your focus to be in earth plane reality. And so over time, your physical senses start to, click in. Your physical brain starts to get programmed and wired in a certain way so that you can navigate this world. It happens naturally as you start to be able to crawl around and this little human body starts to explore the physical world that it's in with its physical senses. It happens deliberately as well, because the parents and the adults that you are born to want to teach you about this world, want to teach you how to focus here. They're constantly telling you to look at this and touch that and feel something else and listen to what they have to say. So all of the focus comes in on the physical dimension. And you are trained to believe that this is the only reality. You are become deeply embedded and anchored here in, you're born into a culture, a country, a culture, a political environment, a social environment, a religious environment. And these all become hardwired into your system. And then it becomes your reality. And you're taught to kind of mimic the projection of reality and understanding of reality that everyone else around you has.
I think that's one of the hardest things to get over sometimes, like it's when you have a thought or a concept or a belief and you go, but it's not necessarily yours. I mean, it's not not necessarily what you're thinking. It could be what you've been programmed, and just spitting it out and living it.
That's right. Yeah, so you came here from this place where you were all seeing and all knowing, and you were born here and you got programmed. And you were taught to prioritize your physical senses over your spiritual senses, to prioritize a particular version of reality to be the reality that you are projected. And all of this is limited to a certain frequency band of experience. So your physical senses they're limited. Your eyes can see within certain frequency bands. Your ears can hear within certain frequency ranges. Your sense of touch is relating to a particular density of energy. So there's a boundary around this physical experience that you're having. And by the way, you even focus your brain waves to have a certain reality experience. So I think most of the time in our waking reality, we have what's called beta brainwave frequency. That's a certain bandwidth of experience. That's matching up with a certain reality experience. And there is so much more beyond that very narrow range of a reality experience that we are allowing our brains to experience and having through our physical senses. And so the reality that you get here is actually a fraction of the total reality that you really have access to. And it's learned. And you know what? It's learned on purpose. You decided to come here and have this experience, and this experience in this great density, this particular frequency range of density, this place where we've got this great polarity going on. Well, you chose it. You embedded yourself here. You knew what it was going to be. You actually pinched yourself off from the greater part of yourself and said, well, I'll just have this experience because it's a very focused experience. It's a very extreme experience, and I can learn a lot by being there. So that explains, well, why nobody taught you to use your physical senses. It's so easy. Here they are. You're using them. But, you know, what the heck happened to these intuitive abilities, these psychic senses that you get glimpses of, or that other people tell you that you have? And what can you do? What can you do about it? And so, you know, in some senses, learning to develop your psychic abilities to a great degree is learning to undo what you did in the first place, to hide them from yourself, so that you can reveal to yourself what's actually already there. Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a revelation. It's an act of revelation. You're revealing yourself to yourself. You hid yourself. You allowed yourself a little glimpse of yourself, and then you're opening up to the larger aspect of you. So yeah, learn to undo what you did to hide yourself from yourself in the first place. And like we were saying, your intuition comes from your higher being. Your higher being is infinite, out beyond time and space, exists in much higher frequency ranges than you've now limited yourself to in the physical world. So your intuition comes from that higher being. It doesn't come from the physical body. Your physical body can't have intuition. It's stuck in time and space, and it's got these, it's like, if you think of your higher being like the NASA control center, and your body a bit like the Mars rover. It was built for the terrain that it's in, with sensory apparatus to monitor the terrain that it's in, and maybe send some signals back, receive some signals back, so on. So the trick now is to switch from one mode of operating to the other. So you, when you came here, switched to operate as a physical body through the limits of a physical body, and you reduced and limited yourself to that physical body. So the trick is you're operating in physical body mode, but now you need to switch to operating to spirit in physical body mode. It's that biblical quote, I think it's one of the things that Jesus said, which is how to be in the world and not of the world, or of the world. I never know which way around that is, but it's the thing. It's like, well, you're in the world, but you're not of the world. So how can you be in the world and not of the world? How can you be all of who you are and still be here? So it's a process of remembering yourself, because you were dismembered. You dismembered yourself to come here. And I like that. You know, there's some myths, ancient myths. One of them is in the Popol Vuh, which is the Mayan kind of Genesis creation story. And another is the legend or myth of Osiris, where they are dismembered. Literally, they are dismembered. And then a part of the story is to remember themselves and bring themselves back to life. And this is pointing at what I'm talking about. You are dismembered, and You're in the process of remembering yourself, bringing back the pieces that you lost. You came into an earth body and you forgot your greater being. You dismembered yourself from your greater being. It's also why the ancient sort of acolytes were instructed to know themselves, because most humans don't know themselves. They think themselves to be a body. They think themselves to be a body, or the life experience that they are projecting, the name that they are given, but that's not who they are. And so to remember yourself is a process of turning within and rediscovering yourself so that you can know yourself, because you're under an illusion about who you are, which is not who you truly are. We're all under an illusion of who we are. I don't know if there's anyone on the planet in a body alive that isn't under some level of illusion. Probably to be here, you have to be. So, and again, this is called different names by different spiritual traditions. We're in the world of Maya, of forgetting, of illusion. We've forgotten who we are. So the trick is to, instead of operating as a body, now operate as the higher consciousness, but through the body. So how do you do that? How do you operate consciously as spirit in the physical world? And this is what I teach. All my courses teach you how to do this. All the intuition blocks I ever talk about relate to this. My Unlock Your Intuition course, by the way, and it's not too late to join, the current cohort of students, is exactly teaching this. How to consciously operate a spirit within the human form, how to remember yourself, how to put yourself back into the equation, how to be here awake as spirit through your body. Because intuition is innate to you, it's your spiritual communication system, but you took it offline. You took it offline when you got here. So we want to plug it back in, put it back online. And I'm going to unplug the monologue to go for a break, and then we'll get back in to these messages. Welcome back, everybody. Tonight's show on Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie is why are you out of touch with your innate psychic superpowers? And that's what we were talking about in part 1 of the show. And, I'm happy to continue the discussion, and I'm happy to for people to start typing in questions about this and comments about this too. So the idea is, the key is this: you are divine consciousness. Your body is your vessel. Your physical senses help you navigate physical reality. Your psychic senses help you navigate non-physical reality. You pinched yourself off from the greater part of yourself who lives and exists in non-physical reality. And now here you sit going, well, I think there's a bit more to life than this. I'm starting to remember there's more to me than this. I want to connect with my guidance, and so it's time to start remembering yourself, opening yourself up to the larger part of yourself and channeling the infinite consciousness that you are through the physical body. And so, of course, the way that this has always been done for thousands and thousands of years, and still is today, and is how I approach this, is through meditation, through specific daily meditation practices to help you heal yourself, raise your vibration, and reduce the frequency gap between body and spirit, because you've embedded yourself in density, and stuck a lot of density all over yourself. You know, oh, I don't know, that's my toy. No, it's your toy. Give it to me. Oh, I hate you. You took my toy away. You know, or from just even a small age, there's all of these things that happen in duality that get us out of alignment, that cause us to layer on pain, trauma. And pretty soon, we've got this thick filter that we're looking at reality through, and we've become even more myopic. So we could almost say that there's a few stages of this forgetting. We come in as babies, okay, now I'm in the physical world, and then we live physical life, and we narrow it down even more because we take on some beliefs. And so now, instead of just operating from the divine truths of the universe, of which there are not very many, we now go, well, I'll have all of these beliefs, and that will narrow my perspective even more. So we take on limiting beliefs, we take on pain, trauma, resistance, all kinds of things. So the revelation process is actually, for us on our human journey, a journey of healing. It has to be, because we have not only dismembered ourselves, but we have misaligned ourselves. So we've dismembered ourselves from our greater being, and we took ourselves kind of out of alignment. And that also is part of the earth journey, to be flipping in and out of misalignment, because that's duality. But that's our story as humans. And my understanding is that that's the original sin. The original translation from the way that was originally written is just out of alignment. You're in an out of alignment state. So we need to come back in alignment, heal ourselves, drop away all of the baggage and the filters, and reconnect ourselves with our higher beings and open ourselves to channel from the greater infinite self that we really are. So I'm open to questions now. I'm open to discussion.
Yeah, we've got one or two. I was just thinking last week, Brian had mentioned that before he came, with regards to soul contracts, that he didn't read the fine print carefully. I didn't either in mine, because I got very disappointed when I started realizing about my powers. I thought I was getting superpowers, not psychic, but physical superpowers. And couldn't fly, but I get to feel other people's negative emotions. Not fair. Okay, next, Almeida. She says, do you think it's possible for a human being to increase their vibrational frequency so high that they can achieve things like teleportation of the body, not traveling in trance? I mean, actually having the body move from one space to another via increase in vibration.
Yes, I do believe it's possible.
Next question.
Yes,
No.
Almeida, I believe that is possible. And these are what are called siddhi powers, and they were written about in the ancient scriptures. So the ancient the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, I think, is one source of commentary about this. In very, very ancient times, the ancient sages and so on have been able to evolve themselves to a state where they can levitate, where they can walk on water, where they can bilocate, where they can teleport, and so on. And I think that is available for us today, and that it is part of this path of self-revelation that I'm talking about, that is one of the higher abilities. Those are the higher abilities that can be revealed to us on our earth journey. So yes, I do believe it's possible. It's involves a certain, well, like you said, energy level. You know, the body has to be prepared to be in a lighter, higher vibration state with very little interference in the amount of energy running through the system as well. And so, but for sure, this is possible. And actually, I have a student in one of my Kundalini classes who has been experiencing levitation. So, so yes.
That sounds interesting.
Mm.
Don't know if I could handle levitation or not. I have a friend of mine who traveled in India fairly extensively, and he ran into a guru there up in the hills, who basically called him a naked guru, and what he all he wore was like loincloth, and that was it. And whenever he needed anything, he would beg a penny from the crowds, and he would put it in his pipe with some ganji, and he would smoke it, like, and they take the penny out, and the penny had turned to gold.
Right.
Really,
Well, that's like the loaves and fishes as well.
yeah, it's the same
To
thing. Yeah.
multiply things. Well, and I was working with somebody on Monday, and we were doing a bilocation exercise, actually. So we were working both in the physical body in one location, and in our astral bodies in a completely different location on the planet, and doing energy work through the astral bodies at this particular location on the planet. So yeah, all of these things.
I just
And
remember.
more.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just remembered, actually, that sort of happened to me when I was taking the healing course I did in Surrey. We're talking about we were being taught how to go into different realities and make changes and things like that. And we went to lunch, and I was standing, I think, I've told you this. We were standing in line, myself and a friend of mine, Chris. We were standing in line. We were about the fourth couple or pair of people in there going for something to eat in the restaurant. And as we walked in, we walked past the table of people, and we sat at a table, and a couple of people walked by, said hello to us. And we looked at the menu, and said, nah, this is not really interesting, so let's go to the mall, which is diagonally across the street, big mall. So we said, okay, let's do that. So we decided, okay, let's go. And we got up and we left. And then we went to the mall, and we walked in to the closest side of the mall. This was a large mall. And then we saw a person that had just walked by us. We were sitting at the table and walking from the other end of the mall. There's no way she could have got there before we did. It was sort of like a different reality. Then when we went back into the course, people said to us, where did you go? You just disappeared. 3 people came up and said, you're just gone. And we didn't even recognize the fact that we had changed anything in our lives, but it changed for other people
Yeah.
around us.
Yeah. Yeah. So and it's all based on frequency matching and becoming a match to the alternate reality or alternate timeline that you are wanting to travel to. That reminds me of one of the biggest experiences I ever had. It was probably 20 years ago now, because it was when I was doing my spiritual training, and I went on a hike with a meetup group. So it was with people I didn't really know very well. And it was that there's some old train tunnels in Hope in British Columbia called the Othello tunnels, and that's where the hike was. And the group was really slow and dawdly, and so myself and 2 other women said, well, we want to get some exercise. So we went fast, and we went ahead of the rest of the group, and we were in one of these tunnels, and the whole projection of reality collapsed. and there was nothing. There was just our bodies. There was nothing. There was no floor, there was no ceiling, there were no walls, there was no anything. And I was in the middle of these two other ones, and I thought, well, this is just me and my funny psychic stuff. So I didn't say anything, but what I was experiencing was, I was just levitating in the middle of a great void, and there was nothing apart from myself and these two other women. And then they went, whoa, what's happening? And it was happening to them as well. And all three of us together had this experience of floating in the void, and all reality, apart from our bodies, disappearing. And then eventually we came out the end of the tunnel, and there was reality again. And we went back, we tried to recreate the experience. We told everyone else about it. Everyone else was going in the tunnel trying to do it, and we couldn't recreate the experience, but it was quite an amazing happening. So thanks for that question, Amida. That put us on a whole track, didn't it?
Yeah, Brian sent the question, but we're going to Amida put something in response to your thing in, so I'll get that first. Thanks for your answer, reteleportation. I once had a man who I was speaking to disappear before my eyes. I didn't know if he was human who was able to teleport, or if he was spirit who was temporarily taking human form to speak to me. I assumed the latter, but could to be good to know if it could have also been teleportation.
Yeah, and there's lots of examples of what we might label as angels, but spirit beings who temporarily manifest themselves into form to bring a message or to save somebody in some way.
Definitely. This is from Brian. Brian says, yes, I think the original translation of Sid was missing the mark, like you would with an arrow. Now, it seems to me the more time I spend in higher vibration, the more these gifts or abilities come back online. Just as aligning with 3D brought me to use the physical senses, I don't know how I know how to use and trust these gifts. It just seems natural. They flow. The higher vibration just seems more natural now. It's indeed like a rediscovery, something I somehow, it's pretty amazing.
Yes,
Somehow
thank
new.
you. Yeah, I mean, that makes me think of a couple of things, because they are natural and you all do know how to use them. And so, what a really good spiritual teacher will do is point you in that direction, provide you with experiences that allow you to remember and to reconnect. And ultimately, I think about all these different modalities that we have on Earth at the moment, these different, healing modalities, and really they are frameworks that underlying all of them is the idea there's energy and intention. There's energy, but the ability to perceive energy and the ability to shift and change energy. That's all healing is. And so we have these frameworks, and we get very obsessed with doing them correctly in this perfect way, or this one's better than that one. But all they are is the finger pointing at the moon. So a good teacher is the finger pointing at the moon. They will provide you with frameworks and opportunities to learn and experience so that you can find your own moon. Sorry, that's a funny metaphor, but hopefully that makes sense. Or maybe moon doesn't mean the same thing in North America. Do you have that?
Yes, we have that, Dr. Leslie.
Okay, sorry, I thought I was just having my own private joke there, but didn't mean
Well,
it.
you still have your private joke. Oh, you're done?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I'll just end it on finding your own moon.
Yeah. Sometimes you leave a pause, sometimes you don't. Oh, hello. Can I ask a different question? I'd like to ask about my varicose veins. This is from SG on my legs. They're getting worse, and I'd like to know how to clear them up and what's causing it. Thanks.
Okay. Well, ultimately, when something's become physical, it's because we're dealing with an out of alignment belief or out of alignment energy that's out of alignment with the energy of your higher being, which is love. So just to connect it with what we're talking about today, okay, I guess I'll take a look. It is taken as a little bit off topic, but see, the problem as well is, I'm to look at this, I'm going to have to be quiet for a long time to get the information. And we're trying to have the show be focused on the topic and not really about giving lengthy free readings to people. So if you want a psychic reading or a health reading, then it's really recommended to book some session time with me. But just a really, really quick look, SG, it looks like there's a lot more to this than what I'm going to say. So I was seeing, it's almost like you're carrying sort of like this, it's almost like you're wearing this past time energy around the area in your legs where the varicose veins are. And it's almost like the vessels are bursting under the weight of excess baggage that you're carrying. So it's like some kind to do with some kind of burden that you think is yours to carry, but really it isn't, I would say, as a hint about what this is to do with. And what to do about it is release that energy, which is not in present time anyway, and is not yours to carry. And, one simple way of releasing energy is to use the grounding technique that's available for free on my website. And we're going to another break. Okay, we'll be back after these messages. Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. And the topic of today is, gosh, I have to look for the exact title. I always forget the exact title. The exact title is...
Are you out of touch with your innate psychic superpowers?
Why are you out of touch with your innate psychic superpowers? And that's what we talked about in the beginning of the show. And we had a whole explanation about how you've been dismembered and you're trying to remember yourself because your psychic abilities belong to that all-seeing, all-knowing, infinite aspect of you. And you're having the experience of being physical right now.
I just want to add something to your reading with SG for a second. What I agree with you, that's what I was getting, but I also got at the same time, you know how when the earth doesn't get enough moisture, it will crack. And
Right.
and it'll create things that look like varicose veins within it. So if you're not replenishing yourself with your emotional being, if you're not replenishing your emotional and spiritual being, you may be experiencing the weakest part of you at this point is holding yourself, like trying to hold yourself up. Um, you have to think about yourself a little bit more. I think what you're doing is allowing other people to um, use up that emotional resistance that you have.
And the other piece of information would be maybe Corey's also onto something about the level of hydration in your body. Maybe you need to hydrate more in your body as well.
Well, folks, there's room for some questions. So if you want to get them in, and while you're doing that, if you're enjoying the show, give us a like um, on both either Facebook or what's the other thing we're on? YouTube.
YouTube.
We
I think I've
appreciate.
scared everyone off by saying.
No, I don't think so. Um, it's interesting. It's interesting. I think the biggest thing that holds people back from using their super powers, their psychic superpowers, is just like you said earlier, just that constant barrage of outside information, from religion, from people, from peers, from family. eh, no, 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 and they don't even have to be looking at you. Like you could be watching a show on TV or a movie or something, and there's somebody using psychic powers at the table. Oh, look at that! How foolish that is! And you're sitting there going, "That's the same that I can do." I can. You hide it. You hide it. You hide it.
So yeah, you made a couple of points there. I mean, that barrage, is that the word you
Yeah,
use?
yeah.
That barrage of external information and noise, that just keeps us focused in the physical. And so that's why we use meditation, because through the meditation, we can tune out the barrage of external noise so that you can turn within, because these are within you. These are part of your inner psyche. And so we need to tune down the noise in order to access them. And then the other thing that you said about hiding one's gifts, that is, and making them extraordinary and not real. There's a few things about that, really. And one is that there's been such a history of punishing people for having these gifts. So, you can look at the Spanish Inquisition or the Salem witch trials, or there's examples throughout history all over the world at how people have been persecuted for their greater spiritual awareness. Look at Jesus. He was punished for his greater spiritual awareness, and having these spiritual gifts. So because having power of that level can be frightening to people who don't know that they have the same power. Because having those kind of gifts, the people don't want people with the ability to see the truth about things and the truth about what they're doing, and the truth of I don't know how they might be manipulating the world. And the other thing that's also happened throughout history is people with these gifts have been manipulated or desired by people in power to work on their behalf, and manipulated to misuse their abilities. So people, I think it's happening less and less, can be very, very nervous about talking outside of circles like this show, for example, about these gifts. I can think of in the last week a couple of people who've talked to me about the shame of being known as somebody who goes to get a consultation from a psychic, because it has, even today, in some circles is demonized or seen as absolute hogwash or whatever. And so on the one hand, people tend to hide because they don't want to be called crazy. They don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to be draw attention that then withdraws some kind of punishment. And the flip side of that is that they're also scared of their own power, which is also something that's come up with some people that I've been working with this week, is that to realize that you're an infinite, how much power do you think that is? I'm an infinite being. There's no beginning and no end to me. I have infinite power. Okay, so people are afraid of their own power. They're afraid of it because they're afraid they can't handle it and they might misuse it, or it might run away with them and they'll lose control of it. And they're also afraid that other people can't handle that level of power. So I'm going to keep myself, back to the beginning of the show, in this narrow frequency range, within these beliefs, and I'm going to match everybody else because I don't want to put my head above the parapet and be noticed for being a powerful, amazing being. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
We have one from Amita again. It says, do you think different animal bodies have different innate psychic abilities? Meaning they say cats seem to know about death and spirit. They are still in physical bodies, but seem to have different abilities more in tune than humans do. I wonder if animals are less susceptible to noise and programming away from psychic abilities. They don't have the cultural, social limiting beliefs around these gifts that humans do, so they can use them more naturally. Another example is dogs. Like if their owner dies, across the country, they know it.
so
Connected.
yes, so many animals are having a very different experience of reality than we are having. That includes what would appear to be non-visible, non-audible to us. And so yes. And the other thing that we would say about animals and animal evolution is, the thing about humans is we have a different form of consciousness in that we are self-aware, self-conscious, self-aware, whereas the animals are operating more from instinctive consciousness, innate instinctive abilities, where we are becoming, or we are self-conscious, self-aware of these abilities within ourselves. We can question them, we can talk about them, whereas the animal, it's just a natural expression. And when you have domestic animals like cats and dogs and other kinds of pets, they're now starting to develop a level of self-consciousness in their agreement to be part of a relationship with a human being, because the human being is demonstrating that self-awareness level and the animal is actually learning from it. That's part of the contract.
Thank you, Dr. Leslie. So this is from Brian. He says, is it possible parts of our dreams, possibly astral journeys, that might help us receive those gifts or abilities? I've dreamt of a room a few times that seemed important, but it's not a room I remember in this lifetime, yet seems very familiar. It's got a pleasant, comfy feel to it. Just cannot quite get to it. If you could look at it briefly, I'm curious as to what it means.
Also, dreams can definitely help you develop your abilities. And I mean, in and of itself, the out of body experience is a form of psychic experience or psychic ability. So yeah, absolutely. Dreams are a great way to open up psychically. And the room that you're experiencing in your dream, the comfortable room, do you know, I feel it's what we were talking about earlier. It's a place within your own self, within your own psyche, a place of comfort and alignment within you. So you are seeking that level of comfort within yourself, that level of alignment within yourself. The room represents you in there's another word as well. It represents you in alignment with your own being, you comfortable with yourself. I can't think of what the other word is, so but that's what I'm seeing about that.
Thank you, Dr. Leslie. Denise had a couple of comments. It's very enlightening. We've been dumbed down. And she also said, wow, that's interesting about your pets. Now, Zachary says, thank you for your sharing truthful insights. I resonate with this completely. Are there groups like those here to chat with, share, and hear each other's experiences with?
Okay, so Zach, I have a few opportunities that are free and other opportunities to participate that involve taking a course. So on the third Thursday of the month, there is an open Q&A forum that you can come and ask things. And every Tuesday night, we have this event, which is the pre-recording of the radio show. I feel like there's another free thing that I'm temporarily forgetting. But apart from that, if you go to drlesliephillips.com and you look at psychic training, you will see that there is a lot of psychic development courses. And all of those courses, when you take one of those courses, you're doing it with a group of other like-minded people. And every week, meeting to discuss your experiences and listening to the experiences of the others. And those courses go from 8 weeks to some of them are a year long. And so, for example, the medical intuition course is a year long. And so you get to know and connect with that group of students that you're in and all the other groups of students that have taken the course. So there's quite the community that is being developed. And so I'd say the short answer is yes, but that's the long answer as well, that we create this as an open forum, and there's a monthly open forum thing as well. And then there's the Facebook group as well that I guess you can post things on. And then there's taking a class with me, because then you do get to hang out with a bunch of people who are into the same stuff as you.
And that's it, Dr. Leslie. Thank you all for your input and for all the questions that you've had. And we'll see you all again next week.